taxes on the brain.
Taxes on the brain, that's never a fun thing to have on the brain.
It's not. For Texas, we have no state tax, but we have property tax. So property tax.
Big property tax.
It's a big property tax. And I have been listening to some information that's starting to come out about these different propositions. So for those of you who don't remember, November 4 is voting day. So make sure that you take a look at your propositions, take a look at everything that you're going to be voting on, do your homework, make sure the yes actually means that you are for the proposition and no means that you are against the proposition, because some of the wording sometimes is confusing.
A lot of times the legalese and the way they word the question, if you think you're for something, you got to vote no. And you think you're against something, you got to vote yes, because they put the double and triple and quadruple negatives. And our suggestion is get a copy of what is going to be voted on before you start standing in line, and make sure you understand that what you intend to vote for, you know how to vote, because you can't just go in and pick it up and think that yes means yes, because like you said, a lot of times yes doesn't mean you agree and no does not mean you disagree.
I mean, right now, and I know everybody's got a bunch of stuff going on, but it is important to vote, so please make sure that you have that time allocated to go vote on November 4. Prior to that, however, it would be wise to just take a look at your county and city, see what you're actually voting on, and read up on it to make sure when you go into that voting booth that you understand how you're voting and how your yes, which way the yes is going versus the no. And if y'all have questions about what I'm talking about, drop a comment and I can put a couple of examples in there of prior propositions that have intentionally, I think, been worded to where you would say yes because you agree with something, but it actually you're against it by saying yes, and vice versa. So they try to keep it tricky there, I think on purpose sometimes, to get what they need, whether it's the yes or the no, so that they can move forward with their agenda, but it may not be beneficial to the actual community that's going to now be impacted. So anyway, our big tax as far as property taxes is concerned is our school tax. And
I think the school tax is more than 50% of all the taxes combined goes to schools.
Yeah, and I always was under the impression that, you turn 65 and now that school tax basically goes away. Not basically, I thought it went away. However, it does not go away. It gets frozen at the point at which you submit that you're over 65, and they freeze your portion of that school tax so that you don't continue to pay more if it were to go up.
You don't pay increases, you pay it whatever year you were frozen at 65.
Okay, so this morning I found out, I need to go back and make sure if it's true or not, and if you already know the answer to this, drop a comment and let us know. But this morning I saw that if you are 65 and older, you've already gotten your taxes frozen for the school portion of the property taxes, and then you want to do any kind of an update or upgrade or whatever addition to your home, now that freeze does not apply necessarily. They can actually come in and increase it.
They unfreeze you, according to what we read. They unfreeze it. They reassess based on your renovations, additions, improvements.
And I don't know what that's based on. I don't know.
That moves you up. Now, we don't know yet if they'll refreeze it, but basically when you turn 65, you can't do anything in Dallas County, state of Texas. You can't do anything to your house without getting another increase in your school tax. And not only that, if you live in Texas, specifically Dallas County, you know that there's more than one school tax. There's a college tax,
right.
And then there's a school tax, which is grades 12 and under. So we're basically paying, and the college tax doesn't get frozen from what I understand.
It's only the school portion, because technically 65 and older, you wouldn't have a child normally that is still in those grades from kindergarten to 12th grade.
But you could still have children that were going to college.
Right. So it's feasible that, so the school as in elementary to 12th grade, that gets frozen. However, there's the caveat that it may get unfrozen and then you'd have to submit to get it refrozen. Now with everything valued higher, that's going to affect it, which means the overall tax is higher. You may not want to freeze it right now. You may want to wait until the property values go down a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, always do your homework. Just, these are things that I would have never thought of to consider and ask about and do the research on when it comes to buying a home.
Yeah. And they get you another way too. They say the political wording is, we're going to decrease your taxes. Well, they're not actually decreasing the taxes. Say you're at a 3% tax rate and they decrease it to 2.5%, but the assessor takes your home from $200,000 to $400,000.
Yeah, so they increase the value of your home.
So you increase the value of the home, decrease the percentage, but you're still paying more in taxes.
Yeah.
So be careful of the politicians that say, "Oh, we decreased the tax rate. Vote for us again." Yeah, you decrease the percentage, but you allow the assessor,
correct,
who is they're a completely different department. Yeah, but you're still charging. We, the end consumer, are still paying more for the privilege of owning a house
in that city, county. Yeah.
And if you say, well, I don't own a house, it doesn't apply to me. Actually, you feel the brunt more than we do, probably from a renter standpoint, because the landlord is paying more in taxes. And
right.
the landlord has to charge more in rent. Just
they got to offset their costs.
They got to offset their costs. So an increase in taxes affects everyone, regardless if you own your own property or not.
Yeah, I mean, I just, these are things that I'm thinking, wow, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't have moved here. I mean, we discovered that our city is the biggest city in Texas. Is that what I understood?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's based on geography or population. I have to go back and take a look at it.
And as a result, whichever it is, we have a lot of schools in our district, and I mean elementary through 12th high school.
Yeah.
And it seems like you turn a corner in our city and there's another school popping up. I mean, and then this particular proposition I was reading about, of course, they want more money for schools, and selfishly, we do not have children. And I feel like, my goodness, we have been paying into the school tax for over 20 years, and now they want more. And every year it's been like a small increase, and now they are really looking to bump it up. So I'm trying to do a little bit more research on what exactly is going on with, I think it was part of the Big Beautiful Bill when they were trying to say that there's a certain allocation of funds that would go with the student as opposed to just being given to a school or a county. And if that's true, how many of those kids are actually in a private school, home school, a charter school, and they're not even using the public system, and yet the public system is the one that's asking for all these funds that for maintenance, for not only for the teachers and their salaries, which they totally deserve, but there's like a football stadium around every corner now. They can't share stadiums. I mean, this kind of thing to me is excessive.
Neither one of us are golfers, but I could probably put a golf ball in our front yard and swing a half a dozen different directions and hit a stadium.
Right.
From our front yard.
I really think it's gone a little overboard, that there's not smarter ways to do this. Like maybe X amount of schools share a stadium or share a
well, not only that, it's the
facility.
It's a practice field.
Sports field,
50 years ago when I was in high school, we had a practice field, but all the practice fields now are getting enclosed and covered.
Right, they're not outdoors because of the weather or whatever.
Yeah. And I understand Texas is hot, but when you go to play a game, the stadiums aren't enclosed, so you're going to be playing the games outdoors in almost every stadium in Texas, junior high, high school, college. The other thing that irritates me is, we have to plan our day, because if we leave too early in the morning to go run errands, every 3 blocks is another school.
Because of all these schools, there's like school zone after school zone. You get out of one school zone, you go 1 block, you got another school zone. You go another block, another school zone. It does get overwhelming. And and then just to hear that, we're supposed to be voting on giving more money out of our pocket for things that I cannot wrap my head around. When it comes to sports facilities, I understand there's a lot of schools, but I don't understand that all of them have to have their own everything, own stadium. They have to have their own field. They have to have their own track space. I mean, surely there is a smarter way to do this where you can share facilities and reduce costs. And I just don't think that is actually being looked at. I think they're just saying, we need more of this. And now that we have a stadium, you got to pay all this money in it to maintain it. Why do we have it in the first place?
I don't know. They just...
And I mean, again, this is from someone who doesn't have any children, but has been paying and paying and paying for years into this school tax. And all I see are more and more things that are popping up. And now they all need maintenance and upgrades, and everything else is listed that for this particular proposition that they're referencing, they need money for.
But I think it'd probably be a lot easier for us to justify if we looked at the education that the kids are actually getting. But when you look at the educational scores, the U.S. is, oh my gosh,
very low.
We're so far down on the list.
Right.
We need to go back before we do our next podcast here and see where Texas ranks among the 50 states. and where our county ranks inside of the state of Texas. And
true,
that would probably really irritate us.
Yeah, we'll look it up. But yeah, it's I'd like to hear from maybe some of you listening that have children and what your thoughts are. I mean, are you willing, you just want more and more taxes from our pockets, everybody's pockets in the county, the city, to go towards school? Are they managing the funds smartly?
Yeah.
Are they being efficient with the stadiums and other facilities that they're building where they can work with other schools, or are they just siloed? You know, everybody has to have their own, which means then you have to have your own maintenance plan, you have to have your own staffing, you have to have your own everything, construction, as opposed to sharing some of those base costs that cut across possibly multiple schools or multiple districts. And you can handle a little bit of increase, but you know, to have everybody have their own thing from an outsider perspective, but from one that is paying taxes on those schools and all that that entails every year, it does get somewhat frustrating.
The politicians that may or may not be listening, somebody needs to think about having utilities be given to schools without charge. I'm thinking water, electricity, gas. Let's have some of the utility companies.
Right, have them pitch in. They're making money.
Not pitch in. Let them have the electricity for free.
No, that's,
give them water for free.
Yeah, like their contribution would be that they provide access to those things. Yeah,
yeah,
not a bad
it's
idea.
A commodity. Let the schools have the commodity at no charge.
But I do wonder, is that something that the committee of the school district, have they even asked? Is this something that they have had the conversation with companies like this, like the utility companies, possibly other companies in their area where they could benefit from, you know, advertising them in exchange for receiving that service at no cost? Because it is helping our kids, it is helping the school system, and overall it is good for the community and for everybody involved. Good question.
Yep.
I think that's a great idea.
I know we haven't watered our yard in a number of years.
And you can see it, you can tell.
every school that we drive by, every practice field, it's got their water sprinklers running 4 to 6 hours a day, every day. Sometimes in the middle of the day when it's 100 degrees, which is not doing the grass any good. But anyway, I'm getting on a rant. I think the point is, go out and vote. Make sure that your vote counts, and make sure that you are voting the way you intend to vote, as opposed to yes and no and being duped into voting the opposite way that you really want to vote.
Yeah, and again, if you don't know what we're talking about, drop us a comment and I'll make sure I put some examples in there of actual propositions that have been, I think, worded specifically to meet their agenda and confuse the voter.
Yep. Let us know what you think. We appreciate the feedback.
Yep, and don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and like and follow us on Facebook. Thank you.